Do you believe in accountable love?
Welcome to Accountable Love, home of the Love Snobs, where love is a group journey. My name is Jerry.
My name's Aziz.
And today we have a special guest, Xavier.
My man X.
What's good?
We are all searching for stability. We are all looking for absolutes in humanity, but there are no absolutes. There's only accountable love, a love that says when you pick a partner and friend, they will show up with their daily best and you will give them your all as well. We all deserve love at its highest form, so the Love Snobs are here to tell you, you deserve everything. You deserve a high class. The Love Snobs.
So today we're going to talk about a couple of things.
Yeah, but obviously accountable love.
Yeah. So one of the things that we want to ask Xavier is, when you hear accountable love, what comes to mind?
To me, I think it's being responsible for love that you have for everyone, not just, love for your partner that you married, or your wife or your husband or whatever. I think it's love for your friends, your kids, being accountable for whether it's right, wrong, indifferent, whatever it is. I just think it's just being accountable and being more stand-up-ish about who you are.
So basically taking responsibility.
Taking responsibility for
Definitely. I mean, we stay away from indifference because we believe that that's what's causing the problem, the indifference.
Yeah, to agree, to disagree.
Yeah, definitely. You always want to have a common ground. So, on our last podcast, we talked about the indifference and explaining to one of our guests that indifference is what is dividing us, because we're so quick to just, we're different and not really talk and find common ground. And it becomes a problem at the end. You know what I mean?
Find a common ground in what's right and wrong.
Definitely. Not even what's right and wrong, but what's right for y'all.
Exactly.
Can both people compromise? Like, we don't compromise anymore. We just say, you're different.
Yeah.
Or let's agree to disagree so that you guys don't have to continue the conversation any further. Absolutely, that is a problem.
And that's probably more wrong than anything, not coming up with a compromise.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But, Jerry, now you're on the show with two
guys. I know.
You know what I mean?
Aziz was going hard with two women.
Yeah. I put in the work, so now it's your turn.
Yes.
So you have any questions, any things you want to know about the male perspective when it comes to relationships?
Well, one of the questions I want to ask, since we already kind of started talking about agree to disagree, you said you don't necessarily agree with that. So when you're meeting new people, when you're meeting women, how does that translate over to your relationships?
What you mean, like when I'm meeting?
Well, not all right. Well, you are in a relationship, so let's scratch that. Sorry. Yeah. So, being that you're in a relationship, right, and you believe in accountability, you believe in accountable love.
You just try to trap them.
No, seriously. Sorry, the setup. My bad.
That's the setup. That's entrapment.
That was a trick question, and he passed. But when you now that you are in a relationship, how do you deal with conflict? And not kind of chalking things up to agree to disagree within your relationship.
Well, what I try to do is, like, I'll argue or debate about a situation. I don't care if it takes me 5 hours, 10 hours, whatever it takes. I could have to go to work the next day, and I'll make sure that we agree on something in common ground, that we stand behind what we agree on. Not that we're just saying it to go to sleep, or not that we're just saying things to just move on from it, because it's going to come back up. So I'll make sure we are focused on coming on a common ground that's going to be comfortable for both of us, that we understand it, and that we can move on that way. That's what I try to do.
So you live by the phrase "don't go to sleep mad or upset." You try to live in that mode.
I mean, if we both just dead tired, I'm going to sleep.
No, I mean, but common practice.
But you try.
We say all the time. We deal.
Let 6 months go by, and we still haven't found common ground on this. We just letting it go by because we don't want to talk about that topic.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
It's sensitive or something like that.
Yeah, but that wasn't a trick question. What I was trying to see is what's your practice, what's your mentality on that? Meaning, you would rather situate the situation, because you said whether you're tired, you got to go to work the next day. You really try to find that common ground before y'all hit the sheets.
Yeah, we try to. We try as
you know what I mean.
As much
not
as
saying
we
you're
can.
going to succeed every time.
Single time.
I mean, we obviously dealing in percentages. Who you are as a human being is.
I say 8 out of 9 times, I'm gonna make sure we come to some common ground about what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what's up.
So do you think, so is she receptive to that, or is it something that you have to, like, you had to explain before you kind of got there? Or was it something that you guys were on the same page about?
She's receptive to it sometimes. It just depends on the topic. Sometimes
topics are harder than others.
Yeah, harder than others. So she'll get, angry sometimes about certain things, but I just sit, and then I have to go back into a situation like, let's not be lazy about conversation that we're having. Let's just sit and go through what we need to go through. Especially if you want to be together. Because if I don't argue with you, that means I really don't care no more. So when you want to be together, I think that I make sure that we find that common ground. I make sure that no matter how mad she is, I'm still going to make her understand that we still need to find common ground before we move on. Like, I'm not going to let you be lazy and just move on and just because you don't feel like talking about something, because I'm pretty sure that's happened in her past relationships where it has went like that. This is a whole nother thing. You dealing with somebody who's different about things now. So,
well, speaking of being different, do you think that, when did you become that person? Were you always that person? Was it something that was happening at home, or was it something that you learned over time?
I was worse than her with that. Like,
so then what was the transition for you?
I think I really just didn't care, and I was acting like I cared. In some form way, I made myself believe that I did care, and I really didn't, because at the time I was doing things as like cheating and doing all the wrong things. So you got to think that you really don't care. Like, you making yourself believe
so that you don't
care,
have like this conscious.
You make yourself believe that you care because it looks good when you walk outside.
Like, ignorance is bliss. Yeah.
But what really counts is what's more important inside than coming outside. So that's why I said I really didn't care about and it was worse than what she's doing now, because she actually cares, and she actually takes it's just some things that are touchy for her that she can't speak about sometimes, like that she has probably a problem with articulating sometimes because it's hard to talk about.
Well, sometimes you know what you want to say, and a lot of the things that we hold near and dear to our heart, is driven by emotion. So she's feeling a way, but she doesn't really know how to put that into words. Yeah. So I know a lot of people, like, I struggle with that at times, or have struggled. I'm better now than I was in the past, but that's something that most people struggle with. They don't really know. They can't really come up with the words to really explain what they really feel.
I also think that, like we say, not we say, but most people say that women get more emotional about things and this, that, and the fourth. And maybe in my relationship, it's more me getting emotional, but my emotions isn't me crying or.
Well, yeah, that's the misconception.
You know what I'm saying? My emotions is we ain't leaving till we come.
It's passion.
Yes, passion.
It's passion. That's my emotion. It's passion.
And there's a belief that the passion means that you just want to be right.
Yeah.
Or the passion means
that you want to control the situation.
That you want to control the situation, but really you want resolution.
People think that about me.
You want resolution.
I'm not trying to control nothing. Like, I'm okay with being wrong just to find out. How can I say it? Like, we looking for the truth.
Definitely,
we looking for the truth.
Two perspectives trying to find the truth, and that's what common ground is.
Yeah,
so searching for that common ground would be.
Well, do you feel like you're misunderstood often because you're so passionate about finding a solution to an issue?
I think in the beginning I was probably a little bit more misunderstood because she was used to a certain way, and she wasn't used to the topics and things that I was talking about. But now I don't think I'm misunderstood because she understands it way more now.
When I was asking the question, it was like really general. Like,
I thought you were talking about us.
Well, I was talking about you. I went to a relationship and just in general because you're friends because relationships go beyond the bedroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's something that when I asked you the question about being misunderstood, it was really just generally. Are you misunderstood?
You say, are my friends misunderstood me?
No, are you misunderstood in general?
Just in general because you're passionate. You're able to articulate certain things. You go hard for certain things.
She doesn't really misunderstand me.
Okay, but
a lot of my
friends misunderstand you
because they'll still, put themselves in certain situations to think that what the majority thinks is right, and they could be wrong.
We just posted about that.
So they could be thinking that because the majority is doing this, that it has to be right. I argue with one of my friends all the time about that. Just because you see people do certain things doesn't mean it's right.
Because everyone's doing it doesn't
Just
mean
because,
it's right.
it doesn't mean it's right. It's still wrong. Is it wrong? That's what we need to come up with. Is it wrong? Yes. Once you find out once you see that it's wrong, then we can have a conversation about, so why are we doing it?
Exactly.
Definitely. I mean, that's what we was just talking about, popularity versus genius and being genuine. You know what I mean? Because a person that wants to give back to the world, they're misunderstood to some degree because the world is used to something a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you got to try to move the world a certain way, you have to literally move the world a certain way. So you got to build one person who gets it, 2 people who get it, then 5 people, then 7, you know, and then you got to expand. And then you're trying to make something positive become the norm.
Yeah.
Which is hard because we just talked about how you walking uphill or you walking downhill was easier. It's easy to walk downhill.
Yeah.
So the people walking uphill, people think it's crazy.
But the crazy part about it to me is that it's hard to see when you dealing with when people are just following the popular group. But it's so much easier to follow the right way.
It's easy in the long term.
In the long term,
But in the short term, it's not easy.
And in the short term, you may not. People may not even realize that it is the right thing. It's different. So because it is different, I mean, there's certain things that are blatant, like right and wrong, obviously.
Yeah.
But then there's certain things that most people are doing that people don't.
Give
think.
me an example of one of those things in this society now.
Smoking
that's
weed.
right. That's not right and wrong. If you go downstairs right now and say,
when
"Yo,
weed
you
is-
shouldn't smoke weed," you have 5 people chewing you out, calling you judgmental.
Agreed. So what?
So there's no clear right and wrong.
Somebody
you're right.
said
You're
that.
right. Oh,
Somebody
so
said
the
that to me
question-
too.
Hold on. The question was a clear right and
Yeah,
wrong.
give me a clear right and wrong
hold
because you
on.
said there's obviously
No,
there's
no,
some
no,
clear
that's what
right
I
and
meant
wrong.
so I'm sorry. That was a not obvious clear right and wrong. An obvious right and wrong. Stealing, selling drugs or stealing.
There's not an obvious right and wrong.
Why?
Because remember we had the whole discussion off camera, and I know this can be a little controversial. I'm not a Trump supporter, and the fact that you got to say that is a problem. But if Trump, like we always talked about, if Trump was black, then he'd be one of their people.
One of us, yeah.
And it's like you always talking about how somebody's coming and trying to destroy our communities, but we're not holding the people accountable that are destroying our communities.
Absolutely.
That are the same color as us. That's what I'm saying. So is it really wrong? We defend our hustlers from the cops. You see what I'm saying? So, and we're raised like that because I know I was raised not to snitch. Look out. Homeboy's cool. He's nice. We give pounds. We play ball together. So he's not a bad person.
Yeah.
He throws.
But he has a bad occupation.
Yeah.
And your occupation shouldn't define you.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
you are defined by the company you keep. You are defined by what you decide to do.
Yeah.
So you got to understand that sometimes it's a felony and supersedes your character.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? The good you do, all the bad you're doing just by buying into that. So you got to look at that. Like, that's what we're saying. Even in relationships, like everybody makes that. That's what we were saying in the beginning about the indifference. Everybody makes everything okay. That's why we have accountable love, because we're trying to find guidelines to hold people accountable for the things they say. And now they have to now honor those things.
So you're saying that things can go either way, and is within the relation. You have to set the guidelines within the relationship to determine what's right and wrong.
Definitely, you definitely have to.
Even though
have those
something
discussions.
blatant, like so,
you can't assume that they know what's right and wrong.
So because based on maybe the way that we were raised and some of the things
you can't assume that somebody knows right or wrong, because sometimes they don't.
So you're saying that not everyone knows that selling drugs is wrong? I'm asking.
No, not every.
That was a question.
What I'm saying is everybody doesn't. Though everybody feels like there can be some wrong to it, everybody believes that if you're supporting your family and he had to do it, and they're gonna blame some outside factor to the reason they're doing it.
So they're justifying.
So they're gonna justify selling drugs, so therefore it's not wrong.
Got it.
That's what I'm saying. We have some very think about it. We have intelligent people out there counting money that we would never see, and these are people who probably never finished high school, never finished maybe junior high, but they know how to manage a whole corporation outside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Yeah. That takes intelligence.
It does.
So them same people can be so intelligent they talk themselves into a lifestyle that makes sense to them because they look out for their parents, because they help somebody, you know what I mean? They donate. Like there's other ways they feel they give back. Mm-hmm. So therefore, because they give back, they don't use all their dirty money for dirty things. it's not as bad.
I think even when you stop doing it and you move on, people still justify the fact that you did it because you did it to get to where you needed to be today.
Definitely. Yeah. But I don't want to harp on, because this is about relationships.
Yeah.
We can go political another time, but I was just using it as an example of how our minds work within relationships. Because if we can't, like you think, okay, that those are absolutes. Like those aren't right. Like you would never tell your kids to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never encourage them to do X, Y, and Z. It's a few people that would encourage their kids
to sell drugs,
to do that. You get what I'm saying? But everybody wants better for their kids. When they say I want better for my kids, then they know that they're not doing the right thing, but they will never admit it out their mouth.
No, it comes out in other ways.
Unconsciously, they see it. Just like I asked a woman, she's with a man that's not, she's with a man that cheated on her half her relationship. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And now the other half, he's doing incredible things. He's always been a very intelligent, a very, let's say, empowering man. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, he disempowered her by going out and stepping out. She stuck around because, she didn't always see herself as an honorable human being. Mm-hmm. So she kind of justified that, and then they worked through it, and now they're in a good space. So we're having a discussion, and I'm like, could you not do better than somebody that has cheated on you in the past? Like, there's a stain there. And it is difficult, because if the person is showing up now and the person is making sure everything's on point, now you're in a place where I'm falling back in love with this person. We can get through this. So it does become this weird space. But then I'm like, would you ask your daughter to go through that to get to where you at?
Yeah,
she's like,
not.
No.
Yeah.
Right then and there, something did click. But at the same time, we're going to justify because we're adults. Mm-hmm. We don't have that youth behind us. We're like, okay, we're going to stay because we built this. Mm-hmm. So we're going to stay a little longer because the person shows promise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when we was talking about dating,
that things are not so, the grass is not greener on the other side.
But what do you think about that?
What do I think about women settling for less?
No, period. What do you think about
anyone settling for less?
What do you think about, because we all was raised around people who can be a little crooked. Mm-hmm. And then, we see them mature and they improve, and we're like, at least they're getting better. And then we kind of want to give them a shot at, getting back in our good graces, and we, start a relationship with them and things of that nature. So what do you think about that? Like,
well, I guess it depends on the person, whether because it would be hard for me to say that, because it's like, I know I'm not going to fall in love with, I don't think I would fall in love with a chick that was sleeping with men for money. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I would have, it would have to match everything.
But what if you in love with her already?
Do you know that for sure though?
What if you in love with her already without knowing that?
Like,
without knowing that, and then find out.
Knowing that. Like we were talking about, the person's past, and then you.
No. But you had to be in a relationship with them when you found out. So like, she was being cheated on, found out, was cheated on, found out, was cheated on, found out, and then over time, the person stopped cheating, and then she's still because she's invested, and the person is, when you look at them independently, they're a solid person when it comes to intelligence.
Well, I think they should have moved on, and they should have let them be good for somebody else.
Okay.
Who should move on?
The woman. I'm thinking that she should have moved on if she was being cheated on by this person the whole time. Mm-hmm. She should move on and let them be good to somebody else, because now you just broke my trust. I don't know how to trust you again.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying you as a man couldn't necessarily date somebody that cheated on you because you don't think that you
not back in the days I would have did it because I was doing my own foul things.
So but it would have canceled out each other.
Now, yeah. But now, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh, so what you're saying is when you do foul things, you attract foul people.
Yeah, you
and your standards on your standards on as high.
Are low, because my standards were low.
Okay,
you understand what I'm saying? So you more accepting of that.
Definitely.
Like I was just speaking to one of my friends not too long ago, and he was telling me that I asked him, if your girl cheated on you, would you leave her? And he said probably not. Mm. And then it dawned on me that I knew you wouldn't. I just wanted to see what he was going to say, see if he was going to lie about it or not. He said, nah. And I know you wouldn't because you've done it before.
Definitely.
So
the only.
I mean, that's a rare man because most of them don't care.
Be like, I'm out.
They don't care that you cheated on me a million times. Once you cheat on me once, what? Somebody else was in my house.
Most men are hypocritical.
Yeah, but I think most will stay.
I don't know about.
I think most will stay.
Wait, hold on.
Now you just went hard hypocrite, like hard hypocrite.
Okay, so okay.
What about women talking about I'm gonna follow your lead, and when you get in relationships?
All right, hold on. I think that a lot of men are prideful. So for a man to admit that is rare because a lot of guys will say, I don't give a shit what I did to her. She better not cheat on me with anybody else because I'm out. You know what I mean? Even though he may stay.
I think they say that, but I like going back to what I said. I think men are more emotional. I don't think they're leaving if they were cheating. I think if they were honest and stuff like that, I think they would probably move on then. But I think if they were cheating, I don't think they moving on. I've seen it happen too many times where they would catch their girl and they don't move on.
And they stay?
I think I've seen situations where the girl has to. I've seen situations where they both got caught and the girl had to leave before him. She would leave him over time. You know what I'm saying? They would try to work it out, but probably 2-3 years later, she would be the one leaving. That's what I see more of. Like, I always see the woman leaving more than the man.
No, I see the man leaving more than the woman when they cheat.
I think the man is checked out already because he's still going to continue to cheat. But I think they stay in the household. And I think that
so you think that it causes them to get their act together. I mean, we seen that too. Like it causes them to understand that they're what they losing when another person is doing it.
Yeah, I think they leave. The woman leaves as soon as she starts thinking that there's someone else better than what she has.
Okay, but we're just talking about the initial cheating.
Yeah.
She ain't. Women leave. Like there's some women that do leave, but typically, is that like the storyline?
It'd be so hard to say because I've seen so many different relationships.
I mean, we all have.
Yeah, I didn't see.
We all have, and you know, I seen.
I think a lot of women
relationships. How long have you known me?
Of course.
And I'm telling you, like the men ain't talking. The men typically think their wife would never do something.
That's what hurts them more.
That's what I'm saying because they typically have more faith. Like we talked about in another podcast, men typically have more faith.
I guess
than women. Like we believe in the women that we pick.
I think it's like a 60-40 thing. Like 60% men leave more than 40% women will leave. Because now that I'm thinking about Precious' old situation, she he left.
This is what I'm saying. Of course.
He left.
And it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
It didn't matter how many times. It didn't matter. Yeah. Because there is the I mean, it's how we socialize, but there is the understanding.
Wouldn't you say like it's a?
I mean, I always tell people it is a double standard, but what I always tell people is a good double standard because you're raising a daughter. She's left with a baby. You know what I'm saying? You're raising a man. So like in certain aspects in life, you look at where women have privilege. Like I always tell people when they first invented the child support and all that rule, it was a woman thing. Like women could not get their children if the man provided and the man had the house. That's how it started. So there are people that are abusing it, but it's a good system for most women.
Yeah.
There are women that are abusing it. So it's the same thing. Yeah, it's a double standard, but I look men in the face and say there's a double standard. They got to live every time with the double standard. They got to make sure they don't have random sex all the time.
Absolutely.
Because they get pregnant and don't know whose kid it is.
Yeah, that's an issue.
There's a problem. We have kids and think how much society just accepts it.
Yeah.
So you have to now understand, because it's a double standard, there's no wrong. I mean, they're both wrong.
Yeah.
The women, if you're committed, you shouldn't be sleeping around. If you're a man, you shouldn't be sleeping around. But there happens to be more of a effect when it's a woman.
It's a female. Yeah, I agree.
It happens to be. So the double standard, I always say, I'm blessed because, I'm raising a girl and I'm blessed to know that there is certain double standards because you can use them to understand that your consequences are a lot more. You know what I mean? So you got to understand that. But I don't think, I do think that men need to tighten up.
In terms of?
In terms of cheating. They do
tighten
need to
up and
tighten
like
up.
not do it or don't
No,
get
not
caught.
do it. Not do it.
Like tighten
not
up.
do it. Like just be
from 4
like
women to
when they say I mean, like we got to change the standard of what a man is. Like literally I'm talking to women and they're telling me like you just said, most men are hypocrites or most men cheat. And like what we stand for and what the word man means now is not a high standard.
Well, what I'm saying is when it comes to,
I want it to be a high standard.
When I we're calling men hypocrites, it was due to the fact that they are.
No, it is a hypocritical act.
Yeah.
When you said most men are hypocrites.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm not a man basher. I don't believe that all men cheat. I don't believe that. I think that, you know,
go
cheating.
Her disclaimer.
I know. Hey guys, I'm still
She's
dating.
running for president. But I'm just saying, I got where you was coming from. I was just making sure that, you know, you understood how it was coming out.
I know, and I want the world to understand where I'm coming from. So my point is that I do believe that I think it depends on who the person is. I think people have different, people are either accountable or they're not. People believe that love is a high standard. People don't, you know what I mean? So I think that when people are making decisions, whether they're selfish or not, it's a person. Oh, what's the word? Not even a person thing. It's a personal preference. It's not necessarily
they believe it's a personal preference.
Yeah, I don't believe that it's a gender. I don't believe it's gender driven.
No, I mean the percentages show is gender driven. But what we're saying in the general, like women and men now, what it means to be a man is being destroyed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
because
they used to have us as leaders. I'm not saying y'all destroying it. I'm saying we are. We not stepping up. Like, you're not ready to settle down. Just date a few women and just be honest.
That's what I'll be saying. Like, I don't understand that. Like, you don't have to have a girl.
No, you do understand it because they don't want their girl or whoever they with to go have sex with somebody else because they already found the person they want to be with.
Yeah.
That's it. And they just want to have sex.
But the problem,
so they don't want somebody else to get that. If women liked honesty, then straightforward and really honest men would be more popular.
You're right about that. So maybe they don't like honesty.
That's not the case. They
like choice, but everyone wants choice.
Everyone wants choice, but then it comes to that understanding that when faced with choice, a lot of people pass the buck. So like, if you sit down and I spoke to a person, I sit down and we're having a discussion. They'll tell you everything that's the right thing. But then when you analyze their actions, it shows different. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying it should be. I wish everybody did want honesty, and we do want people to be accountable in love. But this is not something that people like, oh, let's be accountable in love. And that's the greatest thing in the world. No, they still want that flexibility of being dishonest. They still want that flexibility of blaming somebody else. Because why are so many people doing it if they truly want, you know what I'm saying, honesty, openness, choice? If you truly wanted that.
Well, you're right. If they truly wanted it, it's only.
They picked the player.
They picked
the player and then they're like, oh, he's playing me. And they love the drama.
Yeah.
Because they stick around and they enjoy it because it gives them something to do. They think a person that's a square, quote unquote, a square, married, go to work, spend time with their wife, spend time with his kids, make sure they think that person's boring. Mm-hmm. Think who everybody's pumping with in the hip hop game. Think about who everybody's pumping with. No, I'm just think about the artist. Who's the top artist? Yeah. No X, no. Who's the top artist?
Well, Drake.
Who else? What are they talking about?
Women.
What are they doing to women?
I mean, they get over because I remember we was talking about this though with the whole R. Kelly situation. They get over on women because women admire them, adore them, whatever, and they want to sleep with them. All right, they get to sleep with them, but these women have their selfish reasons for sleeping with them too.
No, I know that. I'm not saying that it's one over the other because we are going into a whole different stage.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Women, it's the big payback. You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of them doing their thing. Like, they, I guess they've been doing their thing. Yeah. A lot of them is out in the open doing their thing now.
Yeah, I think that women are more vocal about the things that they're doing. I think that the gender roles are kind of not changing, but I think it's okay for women to say, I don't want to settle down. I don't necessarily want to have kids right now. I don't want to get married. Like before it was like, you don't want to do what? Like everyone thought that it was
the independent woman is becoming cool.
Yeah, pretty much. And before the independent woman looks sad. Like, what do you mean you work all the time and you don't want a family?
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Do you think it's okay that a woman can have 3 different dudes she's sleeping with?
I think
if she's honest about it.
I think so.
All right.
I think that if she,
I wouldn't. As long as you're honest about
it. I think that I wouldn't necessarily I think that as long as she's honest about it to all 3 men, and she's taking the necessary precautions and making sure she's protected, why not?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, I just wouldn't recommend it.
I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't recommend it. But I think that she should be able to do. I'm not looking at her anymore.
But no sexes. I'm not looking at her with more of a side eye than I'm looking at the
you.
man.
Yeah, if you told me you were sleeping with 3 women, I'll be looking at you the same way I'm looking at her. I'll be asking the same questions. But again, like I said, it's not something that I necessarily recommend. But at the same time, if you are sleeping with 3 women, they all know about each other, and that's what you want to do at the moment, then.
I mean, if the woman is cool with me, I'm a little harder on her because of the consequences to her actions.
Like what consequences?
The pregnancy.
Oh.
The consequences, the slip up, the consequences to her actions.
Yeah.
Like that's the situation. Like you are.
It's a worse consequence.
Yeah, well, like also, you do got to think. You got, and I mean, it's just. I mean, it's God given. I mean, it's one of them things that you got to just think longer and harder about.
Yeah.
Before you enter, when it comes to a woman, and like we was kind of having a debate about a mentality off camera, and I was just saying like it's very important.
Yeah.
For when you love something to have high standards for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like people misinterpret that, but the person that does have high standards for your ability is the person who cares about you the most.
Yeah.
And we tend to look at it like, yo, they judgmental or they doing X, Y, and Z, but really they care and they believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When somebody's telling you just deciding you want to fly a plane, but they telling you could actually go to the moon and they believe that. You feel like that's too much of a standard, but if you really believed you can go to the moon, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So I do believe like our society does cater to our women a little more because of that understanding. Like we do care about our women in that way where we're now putting these stigmas on them. But I do think a lot of people put the stigmas on them as control for the women. But I'm saying they can turn it around and look at that as something to actually keep you going where you need to go.
Well, I think when it comes to women, I think the first thing that you ask her is like, why and what's going on with you and why do you feel the need to sleep with 3 men, right? Yeah. And I think because of that stigma, I would ask the same question if it was a man as well. Like, why do you have to sleep with 3 women? Yeah. What's going on with you? Like, why do you think that this is the route that you have to go? Like, what is, so I think that's it's unfortunately a double standard most of the time, but you'll come across a certain person that's going to ask you the same question as they're going to ask the women because it's necessary. Just because a woman is doing it, you guys are probably doing it for the same reason.
Yeah.
But you get away with it because you're a man, and the woman, she's like she must got low self-esteem, she must got that whatever, and she probably does, but so do you.
Yeah, her getting a name. Now that's what I want to be clear about. Her getting a name and all that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the problem.
Yeah,
that shouldn't be a double standard.
That's the wrong part.
Like, that's the wrong part. Her getting a name, him not getting a name is
because
the wrong
you guys
part.
are probably struggling the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if she could be labeled, then you should be labeled as well.
Yeah.
I mean, most men probably don't care about the label, but
about the guys being called a hoe.
Yeah. I don't think they care about
they
that.
They actually wear that with a badge. Like.
That's gross.
I'm just saying, but I mean, what would be your take on like women? Like, me and X are both men. We're both men raising a child.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you got 2 daughters.
2 children.
2 children, but raising children. Let me say raising children, and the male woman dynamic when it comes to raising those children. How do you think that we can be a little better communicating in those ways?
For men?
Yeah, like you as a woman, what would be like when raising a child with a male counterpart?
Well, I think the benefits of raising a child with a male counterpart is, for the most part, most men are logical, so they see things differently, so they act different. So I think it's natural for a mom to get caught up in the emotion of your child and take certain things personal when you really probably shouldn't be taking it personal. And I think the man can take a step back. Most men are able to take the step back and really see the situation for what it is and be able to provide that insight. So I think that's the benefits of having a logical man to help raise your child.
No, but I'm saying, do you think that we communicate well while raising children?
I do. I think you do. The men that I'm around, the man that I'm around communicates well. Not all men, so I couldn't generalize.
No, I'm saying like just in general with the history, things you see. Like, what do you think when raising your child? Like, what will be the problems you have with your partner when it comes to like
the conflict?
The conflict. Yeah. Like, I'll give you an example. That's why you thinking about yours. Like, I'm raising a child. I'm raising children. Let's say I'm raising children. And when it comes to the points you don't agree morally, you have moral disagreements. Now, that's the essence. That's the core of what y'all both believe. You know what I mean? Like, I believe, let's say, my 13-year-old child should be vocal and should have a platform to speak, however it's coming out, and then we'll have a discussion. Another person may think it's disrespect. Mm-hmm. Like, we're raising, we have a 13-year-old that we're raising together, right? And sometimes we go at it because you would think it's disrespect. Mm-hmm. I'm saying we raised her to have a voice. So at 13, we done raised her from the ground up. You get what I'm saying? At 13, what do you think she's going to do? Well, her speech is going to be free.
But there's a fine, and so I believe that there's that fine line when it comes to respect, right? And I know that, I have to remember that she's 13, she's developing, so she's going to cross out, she's going to teeter, right? She's going to go back and forth. And it's my responsibility to show her, to teach her otherwise, or to fine tune her. But where I go wrong is that I do take some of it personal. Mm-hmm. Like, she should kind of know better, right? But she's still developing. So I think that that's the part that I kind of struggle with slightly. Well, maybe a little bit more than slightly, but.
I mean, yeah, you get an attitude. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying, like where we now say the person is making logical sense. Like, we raised her a certain way, we raised her to be vocal, we have thick skin, we talk, we believe in accountable love, we believe in having honest discussions. So now we're asking her to look, like, we can't sometimes look for different alternatives or different ways to speak, but we're asking a 13-year-old to find alternatives when they're going to express, that's their time, their platform to express it, how they're going to express it. Mm-hmm. And then we have a dialogue with them. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, if you can't outwit a child, then you really got an anger problem. So I'm not trying to stifle her voice, and we do have an understanding that the world doesn't embrace her, and that it's not maybe not going to allow her to do that. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So she has to be confident in herself to do what she has to do and become who she is and have a voice. And in doing that, it starts at home. And at home, we the adults, or there's a way you talk. Now, obviously, we don't condone cursing. We don't condone sucking teeth and doing all this other stuff, because that's all a part of not articulating.
Of course.
Make your point. Mm-hmm. Make your point in a manner where we can understand, just like we have to make our point in a manner where we ain't degrading you, and you can understand it, because a lot of us don't believe in respecting our children. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? So when we having that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You believe in respecting, but then sometimes you cross the line because of ego.
Well, yeah, I do. Well, ego and the fact that I believe that, I have my own luggage. Like, I grew up, looking at my parents a certain way and looking and having those issues, and so I'm the total opposite, or so I thought, the total opposite of my parents.
I mean, you are the opposite, but
I say you
still have.
I still have some things, but I'm just saying, like,
you never had a 13-year-old. You never had a 4. Like, there's things you learned through the process. Well, yeah, I never had it,
but the point is that I think about my relationship with my parents, and I'm a lot more open than my parents were with me. So you just automatically think that she's gonna be receptive to that, and I'm still mom. And I think that that's the part that I struggle with. You know what I mean? Like, I think, but I'm the only mom that she knows.
Definitely.
So she can't compare to grandma. She can't, you know what I mean? She can't compare, because all she knows is me. Definitely. And all she knows is what I taught her. So those are the things that I kind of struggle with, because I take it really personal, because I think that she should worship the ground I walk on.
So, okay, again, that's what I'm saying. So those one of the conflicts I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, we have conflicts, and like, she now says, well, men are more logical. And men, and then when it's time to put it into practice, sometimes, you got to check it. And then you arguing for a longer time than you have to, if she has an understanding of where you're coming from. Yeah. And you're making logical points, and you're making clear points. But then there's that, I'm the mother. I should have more of a say.
And
that's what I'm saying.
I always heard that a lot growing up. I'm your mother's, you do what I say, and all that stuff. I used to hate that growing up. But another thing that I was thinking about that I think couples might go a little wrong with sometimes, and the language that they use sometimes with each other, things go wrong when you probably raising a child, because like I've heard fathers say before, like, that's my son. I'm gonna do what I want with my son, or a mother.
Well, you have
that's
said
my, it. You know, I said it before.
You have
but,
said
you know,
it.
I don't mean it. They literally be meaning it. Like I'm more about compromise, like we said in the beginning. I've said it because that's a language that I'm bad at using. But I've seen people actually say, I don't care what she say. That's my son. We doing.
Oh, they're not even having the discussion.
Not even having a discussion.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen a lot, and I've seen that a lot in the communities that we grew up in, because people think that they got more ownership over the child than the other person, and that's a problem.
But what would you say that, like, if you had to advise men, like, what were some of the struggles you go through sometimes with raising a child? Like the problems you run in, like you being the father and her being the mother. What problems would you say you run into? You see, like in the example, I'm running into a problem because I'm staying true to what we raised our child to be.
Yeah.
She, on the other hand, is like
sometimes our
doing her own
problem
thing.
is similar to not really similar to that, but I noticed that she's a little better with a child than I am. I still think I'm amazing with a child, but she's still better at raising a child and doing and remembering to do this and that and being in order with everything more than I am.
Definitely.
Just because I had a child before we had a child, I think I know more, and that's wrong.
Okay. So that's where you go wrong.
That's where I go wrong.
So you believe that causes conflict on your end. But as a male, what do you think you struggle with? What I do now
is I try to sit back and let her lead on all those situations when it comes to the children.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because I gotta listen to what she say, and then if it makes sense, instead of thinking automatically that I just know because I had one before you.
Definitely.
That's the wrong way to think about it. Sit back and listen more, because she's never led me the wrong way with our child now. So why would I even be thinking that way?
Definitely. But do you think that's going to be reciprocated? Because in my situation, I'm always like, I understand what you're strong in. So I never waver. So like what you're saying, you don't just take a back seat, you're forced into the back seat because they're just so much better at it. And they are better when it comes to organizations, when it comes to doctor's appointments, they on top of it. And I can't deny that. I mean, I don't know if that's a woman trait, but they're real good at it. You know what I mean? And making sure they organize in that way. But when it comes to organizing their thoughts and organizing the faith and organizing things that you signed on for, that's where it can get a little tricky.
Me and her had an argument about that. You know what I'm saying? A couple of weeks ago, we was going back and forth about it. And she understood, because I said, just think about how many times I do follow what you're saying. Like I was telling you how we went to Cancun. Every time we went on vacation, I followed what you wanted to do.
Definitely.
I said, did you ever come with me back to the room and just hang out for like 2 hours? Never.
Ding, ding, ding.
I said, like, I followed you every single time. Do you ever want to follow me?
Ding, ding, ding.
Like, just sometime. Like, do you ever trust what I'm saying? Trust what I'm saying. I'll follow you because you've been going on trips. So that's why I followed you the whole time. But I said, can you follow me sometimes?
Where's the accountability in that, right?
On what I want to do.
But wait a minute. But are you saying that? Are you saying that, hey, can we hang out in the room? Or is she supposed to assume that?
No, I'm saying that. I said I tell her I don't want to sit out in the sun. I'm just giving you a little detail. I don't want to sit out in the sun for 8 hours.
Yeah.
So you'll sit out there because you want to tan more. I don't want to sit out there like that. I don't want to, and sometimes we're drinking, so it makes me tired. So by the end of the night, I don't want to do nothing. So I say I'll go upstairs and rest for a little while, get in the AC, whether I fall asleep or not. It is what it is. And I've asked her to come with me before. She never came. So it's like, I'm gonna do.
You saying all because you can relate.
I'm gonna do.
But to being out, to relating to
doing what you want to do is
doing what that's why I was saying ding ding ding, because that I believe is the divide. Like I go through it on a regular basis. It's like we have children, right, together. they are nurturers for the child. Like typically it's just a natural instinct. Not saying all parents or mothers have been, but for the naturally they on top of everything, like you said, making sure their child's needs is met. You're making sure their needs is met. So now you're making sure as a male, you're making sure her needs is met.
Yeah.
But who's making sure
your needs is met?
Absolutely. And that's why I tell her, like,
that's where the conflict comes in, because when kids enter the relationship, there's a portion where people forget about the man.
Because the man is always out of the percentage of 100% of a family, if, like us, it's her 50, the kid 30, the man 20. Like that's how it trickles down.
When we're raising the child together. Like you're nurturing, you're doing your part, but when you sleeping and when you need support, we're just taking them out, we're teaching them, we're sitting in front. Like when you're a man that's involved, you're actually dancing with them, playing with them, occupying them. You got 2 hours, 5 hours to do whatever you want when they're chipping in. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? But now when it's time to like relax, you're so tired. Or when you're tired, why are you sleeping? Yeah. I'm not getting enough time. So it does feel like you're being broken down as opposed to build up. And then society doesn't really support it, or really doesn't help, because you got to understand. And we never understand this, where another double standard comes in. We never understand childbirth. We never understand how much it takes from you. You never understand the connection because the child came out the womb. Yeah. But you have a love for the child, and you're committed to the child. You're committed to making sure the child gets all the support they need. And you're committed to making sure the child's mother gets all the support they need, or your partner gets all the support they need. But who's helping you? Who's giving you the support? It don't even come to your mind who's giving you the support.
But listen, I agree. I think that, when a woman has a child, like something does change. You can't even describe it. Like the body that you once thought you had, like it's just different. Like everything, like the way that you think, not even physically, just like mentally. Like there's just so many changes that you go through after you have a child that I think as a new mom, especially, you kind of struggle through that, and it's really hard. It's really hard to articulate. But I do think that, the conversation, you have to have the conversation with whoever you're raising your child with, because it should be balanced, and there's certain things that should be talked about. I mean, you and I, maybe we do more of the arguing these days, but I do think that when Camille was younger, things were a lot easier. You know what I mean? Like now that she's becoming a teenager, this is the phase that I'm struggling in. I was like a student up until like 2 years ago, not like a year ago. But
she has friends.
Yeah, she has friends now. She's sassier. Like it's just like it just goes on and on and on. So I think that that's where the struggle is, but that doesn't stop us from reconnecting, continue to have the conversation, and you challenging me to remember what I signed up for. Because
no, but I always have. That's what I'm trying to say. Like that is the rule of thumb. Aziz has to remind me, but I can go off the deep end. Aziz has to remind me, but I can go off the deep end. Yeah. Aziz has to remind me, but who's reminding me?
We don't have
can
to.
Can I fall short?
Okay,
but look at this. Okay, he doesn't. And why am I being challenged every 5 seconds? If I'm consistent.
That's a whole other podcast, guys. I mean, I don't know where you're going with this, but we got guests.
I'm just saying. I mean, the guest is just sitting here looking at the ring.
Yeah, I'm trying to hear this now.
He's looking at the ring, but I'm saying, do you experience that? Mm-hmm. I'm saying I'm giving you strong examples because I know maybe I'm not articulating the question correctly. I'm trying to get you a visual of what I'm trying to say.
No, all the time. It happens with us a good amount of times where like I could be talking to her about a relationship or a family member or this, that, and the fourth, and she'll agree with me most of the time. Mm-hmm. Like 95% of the time she'll agree with me on something. When it comes if I talk about our relationship, now it's a challenge.
Even if it's kind of like the same kind of issue.
Even if it's probably the same type of issue. It's a challenge now. Like, and then I'll be looking at it like, I'm better than you in this area. I understand the part of don't just agree with me just to be agreeing with me if you don't see something. But when I put out all the facts and I show you and I put you in a situation where you understand it and you still trying to look for another way to argue with me about something, I'm like, come on, like you know I'm good at this. So why would we still be arguing about this? I'm not gonna argue with you about when it's time to do something with our child. I'm not gonna argue with you about. I'm just gonna let you take the lead and let you do it. I'll ask you questions about why are we doing this? Why don't we do it this way? And if your way was right, and you say I don't say nothing else, I'll just be like, oh yeah, you're right, and I just keep moving on. Like,
so what do you think in us is like? Because like I said, it does emasculate you, if that's what people call it, but it does make you feel like, damn, I could follow you without a problem when you strong.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Or we have a problem. Once we fix it, I could honor that.
Yeah.
But now when it comes to like you're not honoring the other end, where's the divide then? Miss Briggs?
What do you...
I mean, you're the woman on set, man. Like when I was with the women, y'all was posing questions or putting things out there. I was handling my own. You know what I mean? I was basically breaking things down. Now you're giving us the woman perspective. You sitting there like, I have been selfish.
Yeah, seriously. I'm self-reflecting, actually.
I have been selfish. Now that there's two men that go through the same thing.
There's no excuse. There is no excuse for it. So I'm not gonna say here making an excuse for it. It is wrong, but I do think that sometimes we have to. I know that you disagree. Have to be reminded that this is what we signed up for. So, and I think a lot of people in general, not just females, but they don't connect it. So the fact that could agree with you in certain examples and about 3 other people, and then it's the same situation with her, she's not able to see it. I think a lot of people do that. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to justify her situation, but sometimes people don't take the time to really self-reflect and really think about things. And when you're coming to me most of the time and you telling me a story about a coworker or somebody else, I'm already thinking how that, like, if I was in that situation, how I would react to it. Uh-huh. Now, not all the time do I come out on the other side, but for the most part, what I'm doing is I'm saying, like, I don't necessarily want to be that person in the story. So sometimes it comes out in other ways where you're that person, you're like, damn, I am. Well, it's not that easy, but eventually it's like, damn, I am. But what I'm saying is that sometimes people don't connect it because it's not the same exact example. So they don't know how to connect it. You don't think it's just
lack of faith?
What do you mean? Faith?
Like it's lack of faith. Like I always give this analogy. Everybody praises Jesus, but if Jesus came down today or tomorrow and say he was Jesus, they wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right about that.
No matter what he did.
He could part the sea, they wouldn't believe it.
That's what I'm saying, because they need to believe in something outside themselves. Yeah. But they don't see, like, somebody's been consistent. We take our consistent people for granted. We do. Because this is what Accountable Love Podcast is about. Like, we're supporting the people that are taken for granted for being consistent. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Like, why you always got something to say because I'm consistent. Mm-hmm. I can't say it. Mm-hmm. I'm equipped. Mm-hmm. How dare you challenge me when you're not equipped? When you're not constantly, like, you're constantly going in and out of moods. Like when you're telling me about the pregnant experience and the things you go through, you'll just tell me the emotion of it. Help me understand. Well, like, you see what I'm saying? That's the important piece. Yes. Do you take the time to help me understand the emotion you go through, the feelings you go through in words? Because a lot of people are so dead set on just having their own experience that disconnects you from somebody else. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. Like, let me in on your experience, even though I didn't experience it. Like, take the time to really, if you now that connected or you're running and you're being emotional, wouldn't it be a lot easier if you're like, listen, I know you typically on point. Right now I'm being emotional. Let me take a step back. Mm-hmm. Let me reflect. I don't want to agree just to agree, because I know when I agree, it means that you're holding me to it. So right now, just let me think about it. Instead of going into all kinds of nasty back and forths. Yeah. That would be amazing. Destroying the relationship. No, I'm just saying in general, like, because that's how I'm looking at it. Like, we're here to raise a child. We're here to build a relationship. And we're not a couple, but we're raising a child. You know what I mean? And we are real close friends. So therefore, it affects the friendship. Yeah, it does. Do you get what I'm saying? Because we're losing track because you're so busy being egocentric versus actually coming to a place where you're trying to find common ground. Because that's what the whole point of it is. Yeah. I don't agree. You don't agree. I'm never going to say you just agree with me, period. Yeah. If we have time to talk, why not? The only time I think I can pull rank and be like, yo, I'm usually right about this is when it's something that needs to get done. Yeah. And I think you should do the same. You get what I'm saying? Because at that point, you are the leader. So we should trust you blindly. But I think that's the problem. Like what you were saying, faith.
Yeah.
I'm usually right. I'm usually on point in this. So really, just don't agree, but take the time to hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just factor in what I'm saying over what you're saying for a while. See if it functions. And then come back. Don't just argue right off. Don't get defensive right off if you know I'm accurate. Because how am I able to take you in when you typically on point about that, or you're typically the leader, is because I take a step back and see how that benefits the overall. Not how it inconveniences me, makes me look, how I feel, how I'm going to look to the world. Well, I don't care if I got to hold your purse. I don't like holding your purse. You try to pass it over to me just to do whatever, and I'm not doing it, right? Yeah. But when it's like, yo, I got to tie my sneaker, I'm holding your purse.
Yeah.
Somebody can get a snapshot and be like, yo, dude holding a purse, whatever. I know it makes sense. I really don't like it walking down the street. Like, why did you bring a big ass purse and then you're going to inconvenience me with it? So it's all a principle thing. But I'm just like, yo, you done packed your life. And now you want me to carry it. I'm not doing it. You're tired. We walking. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
For that reason, I'm not doing it. But if you need me to hold it for something that's going to be productive and progressive, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I was just thinking about it. You know, part of it is with men. Women, it's a stigma in society where they don't want to hear no man crying. They don't want to hear you crying about nothing. A woman can put out everything emotional she want on the table. You have to listen. You have to understand. So does the child. But
no, if you're a rough dude, you could cry.
Yeah.
If you're a rough dude, they love to eat it up.
They
eat it up. Oh my God.
But most of this in society.
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's not they lose respect. No, they don't say that, but they lose respect unconsciously for you. Like they start talking to you all kinds of ways. Like you notice it. Like, damn, I just cried on your shoulder. I was like at a weak moment. You just acted like you just acted like you took over. So I get what you're saying. And that's our upbringing. I don't know if it's like that now. You think like men can't cry? I hear a lot of
I don't think that
I hear a lot of things
really
going
frown
on.
upon that. I think
don't
we
know,
encourage.
maybe.
I think we encourage men to really deal with their feelings and be a little bit more open about their emotions. So if a man cries, I don't think that is not frowned upon like it was before. Like, you know, that man is soft because he's crying.
I think it's the underdog era period, though. I think it's you know what I mean? If you look good, you can't say you look good.
Yeah, of course.
But if you don't look good, you say you look good, that's confidence.
Yeah.
It's a lie. You know what I'm saying? If you're very intelligent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They you can't say you're intelligent. Come on, I'm intelligent. You can't have pride in the things that you're great at. The intelligent guy that's not good looking didn't say I'm good looking. He said I'm intelligent. Mm-hmm. Which is a truth. And then what happens? Somebody that's not as intelligent, let him talk. Yeah. Okay, you talked already, let him talk.
Yeah.
It's like give that person the stage at all times. You know what I mean? And everybody's like lobbying. So it is an underdog stage. So I think the crime portion, my whole long dragged out thing was to say the whole understanding of them crying now, I think it just shows a sensitive side now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It shows that they have evolved.
Yes.
But at the same time, like, how is that evolution? I mean, you should cry if you're feeling it.
Yeah.
But how is it evolution? Because typically they cry because they did something crazy.
Something wrong.
Or not. I mean, maybe something happened to them.
How many times but how many times?
In the movies.
How many times you see, like, it's just like, I'm proposing and I'm like crying. I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah, I've seen weddings and
how many times? I didn't say it doesn't happen. See, again, we got to remind, accountable love is based on percentages. So when we're talking in absolutes, we understand there's exceptions to the rule. Mm-hmm. So we're saying how many times do you typically see it, meaning that it's not going to happen. It doesn't happen as much. You typically see it when I did you wrong, and now I'm coming back tears to apologize, which shows humility. Do you think that you can say women have humility? Like, they humble? They're more humble than men? Like, they mess up? Hands and knees?
No. They don't. No.
Would you say that?
Nah, I would agree.
Like we go in.
We just told
Yeah, I
like
know,
they'll
yeah, I
rather
do, yeah.
argue.
So
We'll go in.
We will cry and we'll show that emotion, and maybe a guy wouldn't necessarily cry, but you guys really know how to apologize.
And that's the key to it. That's the key to it.
So long.
So that goes back to you
Apologize.
taking the women taking the man back more. Maybe it ain't because the man's ego and how we're set up.
It's maybe because
Maybe
the guy
because
knows how to apologize.
the guy knows how to apologize and the women don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that could be
yeah,
it.
that could be the case.
That probably is it.
Like they like, motherfucker, you did X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You pushed me to, and then you got your mother. What did you do
Yeah.
to push that girl away? She was a good girl.
Yeah.
So I'm saying there's a lot of things in place to like say, okay, she cheated. You must have deserved it.
That happens.
So maybe,
What was you
I just
doing,
thought of
though?
it just now. So
They'll
it just
ask
happened
you-
through our discussion.
Like if she
But
cheated,
maybe
they'll
that's
ask
something
you,
to look at.
Did you do anything to this girl?
Yeah,
It's like you always did something wrong.
this is what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
That is true.
So maybe it's because women don't know how to apologize that good, or they're not humble enough to like. And then when they do apologize, they mad at you for doing it. They mad at you because they had to humble themselves.
Yeah.
Like remember when
But I think it goes back with even when we talked about in the last podcast about when men approaching women as opposed to women approaching men. I think it's the same thing with apologizing. We weren't taught to really apologize, even though we are. Overall, we're taught to apologize for where we went wrong. But when it comes to the female-male relationship dynamic, like we're not. It's mostly the men apologizing and the women just like. Either I accept it or I don't accept it. But usually a woman, you don't really see too many women, even around you, like growing up, your peers, apologizing to men.
You know what I thought about?
But I
too?
think it's
women
because
have
of-
a hard time with apologizing to themselves.
That too.
They'll run around, cheat on a man. Let's say they cheat on a man, right? They'll tell their friends every excuse of why they did it, and their friends would agree with them most of the time. And they'll be understanding of that instead of understanding the fact that you were wrong.
definitely.
Like they won't even apologize
just
to
take-
themselves.
well,
They
taking
won't even
responsibility.
Accept the. Yeah, but that's like apologizing to yourself. I'm saying.
Well,
Like,
are they?
I mean,
sorry,
men
though?
men do it.
that.
Men do it. Men do it.
Men
to-
do it
They
too.
do it to themselves.
But
They do it
men,
with their friends
I've heard
too.
men say, "Damn, I got caught. I fucked up. I was wrong." Or this, that, and the fourth. But they more apologetic because they got caught.
Yeah.
That's a difference. Yeah, they more apologetic because they got caught. Women, they just be like, yeah, they just.
I mean, it's just like, I think it deals with them being they're not the minority because there's more women
Yeah, there's
in the
more
world.
women.
But
I think it goes
it
back
does
to
it
the
does
whole
go
man-
back to how we're socialized.
Yes,
it's
how
definitely
we're
how we're
socialized,
socialized.
yes.
And because remember when one of the people I was dating wrote me something.
Well, how many?
Wrote me something on Facebook because
Yeah,
she put me through the ringer and she was
she was
trying to.
super
There was a
humble,
grand
like, yeah.
gesture.
Yeah.
Women went off.
Yeah, like why are you?
He's
doing
brainwashing you.
Yeah,
He got you just. If a man would have
went
did it,
off?
went off.
This? Yeah, if
Went off. I don't think this is crazy. This is humiliation. This is
like you could say sorry, but damn, you don't have to do all that. Like yeah,
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. A man would have did that. What would have happened?
take him back. Yeah.
So I mean, like when we looking at double standards, there's a lot out there that's just unfair.
It is.
Yeah.
But I guess they in place for a reason, and I mean that's what we have to do with having these discussions. Is like search for those reasons.
Yeah.
Or just search for the reasons, have the discussion, and have the discussion ahead of time. Like before you guys, decide to, while you guys are getting to know each other, before you decide to commit, before you decide to have sex, before you decide to get pregnant, you know what I mean? Like all those things, like have those conversations ahead of time so that when you decide that you guys want to be together, have a baby, then the conflict between like the arguments, not to say that you guys are not going to argue, but it will be different and the recovery will be faster because essentially you guys believe in the same thing.
And wouldn't you say the women, the women we're talking to or we're speaking about, because I'm sure there's some women that, practice humility, but when it comes to, it's like really taught to us. You know
It
what I
is.
mean?
That's
To
what I
be
just
humble.
said, yes. Mhm.
So,
To men.
I mean, wouldn't you say women really need to work on humility and like working together? I mean, it's really just dealing with working together and we all fall short, but that can't just be enough. Like, we all fall short.
No,
You
it's
have to
about
be
taking
humble
but
about
taking responsibility.
Yeah,
and-
about like where you went wrong. Because I like to say that dot my I's and cross my T's, but I apologize at least twice a day for something. I'm sure, you know what I mean? And it's a very humbling experience, because a lot of the time I'm like, I think I know what the hell I'm talking about, because I'm confident in what comes out my mouth, or I'm confident about what I'm thinking, but it doesn't always translate into something that makes sense.
Well, you know what? You know what also came to mind just now? You women do apologize, but they apologize for stupid shit. Like they saying sorry every 5 seconds, like they get abused.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
they
I
do
seen
shit
that
like
too.
that. Like I hit the chair, I'm sorry. I dropped the cup, I'm sorry. Like you never been around a person like that?
Yeah. All the
So
time.
I think
I
that
had to stop myself from doing that a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
I used to
just
do it
saying
too.
Sorry for
just
all
for no
kinds of
reason. Yeah.
reasons.
Sorry for standing behind somebody.
Word.
Sorry for somebody's moving so slow.
Yes.
I mean, that's a whole nother. I mean, that's the way
I
we
don't want to.
socialize.
But what I'm
as well,
saying is,
but-
but I do think that females should really take the time to think about just even think, like, when was the last time you really fully apologized and took responsibility for where you went wrong?
I mean, why is it not okay for you to have a grand gesture when you did something wrong?
I agree.
To show a grand gesture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Without people thinking that you're brainwashed or crazy.
Because wouldn't you say, like, that's majority of the discussion? Like, I'm wrong. How many times have you heard that? Like, you right. How many times you heard I'm wrong? Yo, you make sense.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm probably the only person that I've heard say that. I'm saying outside of us, outside of being around.
So yeah, I was more talking about, your relationship and how many times did you really think that, Precious is like, yo, I'm wrong. This is what I'm saying.
I'm really trying to analyze it. I don't want to say that I never heard her say it.
But you might have never heard this.
I think she has said it a couple of times.
What it sound like?
I can't remember.
No, what it sound. I don't need the details. I'm just saying.
It'd
I'm gonna
be
take
like,
your word for it if you
hold
said
on. It would be like, you was right, I was wrong.
Oh, that one.
Something like that.
And
yeah.
do you
It'd be like the singing version.
wait up. The R&B version. And she said, but do you think she said? Do you take that as she was wrong, or she's still thinking about whether she was wrong? It's gonna come back.
Well, most of the time when she said that, she don't come back and say and.
No, I'm saying, does it come back up in a discussion? Like, I'll bring it up, and she like, well,
arguing the same point again.
Arguing my point because
I think that might have happened once or twice before. It hasn't happened a lot. She doesn't do that a lot, because we've argued about things in the house, and then we go out and speaking to friends or something like that. We both be on the same page with certain things like that. So.
Okay, so y'all,
that doesn't happen a lot. It has happened a couple of times. It's happened here.
Yeah. Like, I got a Z's behind me now.
Yeah.
Now what? Yeah, but on that note, Jerry, you tried to hold your own.
I thought I did.
You did a decent job. You looked like you was under pressure a few times.
On the hot seat.
Yeah. She looked like she was under pressure.
It's not about me.
Where's this going?
But you had to know. But you make it about you. You're like, and then you tell the whole story.
But I think that's what's good about this podcast. It could be about anybody. It ain't just y'all talking to people. It could be about anybody.
Definitely.
It could be you. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. That's what I think is good about it. It's not like we can't, like, I see other things, like, they don't want to talk about themselves. They'll just be talking to the person. And then that's what's good about it, is that y'all talk about whatever.
we love snobs.
It's
we
whatever.
love snobs. We love honest, open dialogue.
It's open. That's the greatest thing about it.
I mean, you guys made a lot of valid points about females, and I do get it. And as a female, although I am logical in most cases, I do, fall short at times. But again, but when I fall short is because of all the reasons you explained. I'm leading with emotion, not really, holding my end of the bargain and stuff like that. So you guys did make valid points. And I think as women, like we said before, if you can really think about when was the last time you even apologized to someone, like really apologize.
Say I was wrong.
Yeah, say I was wrong. Yeah. Don't just say sorry.
Everybody should do that though.
Just say
men and women.
Just say I was wrong and really own why you were wrong and think about why you were wrong so that you can change the situation and course correct.
Definitely. But on that note, my name's Aziz.
I'm Jerry.
Xavier.
Yeah.
This is Accountable Love.
Peace.